Locked on Longhorns, the show. Jonathan Davis, your host. We witnessed a massacre yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever you're listening or hearing this, in the Red River Shootout as Texas beat Oklahoma 49-0. And I got my brother Landon from the Lando Show here to talk about it. First of all, I just want you to talk about the experience because you were in the building. This is always a crazy game, one of the craziest experiences in college football, period. What was the atmosphere like on Saturday witnessing a 49-0 ass whooping by the Texas Longhorns?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm on record saying it's the best Saturday in football, best Saturday in sports for me. Of course, it's a little bit, I'm biased, but being at that game, the energy pregame was as advertised, as expected. Everything was great, and you feel the goosebumps and the intensity and the energy, like I said, in a way that is very hard to explain unless you've experienced it yourself. And clearly, I'm a little bit hoarse today, so I was getting my fair share of trash talking and yelling and supporting the Horns. And one side of the stadium had a damn good time yesterday. The other half obviously left disappointed, and there's a pissed off pilgrimage of Sooner fans heading back to Oklahoma right now. So I'm, of course, very happy. They have a lot of questions and stuff to figure out, which we're going to talk about. But as far as the energy of the game goes, man, it was great for me and on the burn orange side of the stadium. But it was a little bit different, obviously, just because of the way that things played out. There wasn't the back and forth. It wasn't really a two-sided affair. They got goose egged, man. So that kind of speaks for itself. But it was something that my soul needed. I didn't realize how much I desperately craved a performance like that from our team, and I'm just glad that it worked out the way that it did. So I'll take that any day. If the energy in the stadium has to suffer a little bit for my team to put the smack down on OU like that, I'm happy. So life is good, man.
Oh, life is definitely good. And we'll talk about that abysmal performance from Oklahoma and Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables later, because I've never seen effort like that in a rivalry game for as long as I can remember. But first, we got to talk about the team that did win, the team that did show up to play and take care of business. And that's the Texas Longhorns. After what happened last year, they had to, come back and, get it back in blood. And they definitely did that 49-0. Yeah. This game in recent memory has been marked by special playmakers, especially at the quarterback position. And Saturday was no different with Quinn Ewers at the helm. His coming out party, coming back from injury. You were at the game. Quinn Ewers, 21 for 31, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception he didn't mean to throw that had no impact on the game. Talk about what you saw from Quinn Ewers, who was definitely the MVP of the Red River Shootout this year.
The Red River Shootout. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, man. I'm really glad that this is where you wanted to lead off. So for those out there listening, this isn't scripted, really. He's giving me these topics, right? And I don't really know what he's going to ask. So this is live reaction, and I'm glad that's where he started. I tweeted this yesterday. Quinn Ewers, I saw him play in person yesterday for the first time, right? We can talk about the expectations and the talent till we're blue in the face, but seeing it in person, he met every expectation that I had and that I had heard about, and then some. There was a couple throws that I'm sure if I just say 4 or 5 throws, we can all kind of think back. I still have yet to go back and rewatch the game, so forgive me for not being like completely punctual here in the exact throws that I'm referencing, but there was a few different occasions to where I just kind of was awestruck or speechless. I don't really know what the word is, but where I'm just like standing there basically like my jaws dropping, like with my mouth open.
The touchdown throw to JT Sanders. I mean, crazy anticipation and ball placement and seeing it. Because, I mean, if you see the angle behind Quinn Ewers, JT Sanders isn't open when he throws that ball. Like, he puts it where JT Sanders is supposed to be. Yes. The throw to Bijan Robinson is absolutely insane. Insane catch by Bijan Robinson. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it just seems every game with Quinn Ewers, short sample size, but there's 4 to 5 throws. You just look at him and say, that's an NFL player.
There's 4 to 5. That's what I was getting at. And thank you for saying that. There's 4 to 5 throws that 19-year-old kids don't make, but he does, right? Like he's doing things that 30-year-olds on their second NFL contract do.
Yeah.
The anticipatory throws, the ball placement, regardless of where he's at, back foot, front foot, moving, standing, sidearm, regular, like there's different arm angles. It's incredible when you actually see it in person. And like you're talking about the throw to JT, I think it was the second one where he didn't break open, and Quinn had to fit it behind the linebacker and in front of the safety. By the way, OU they played mostly 3 high safety all day yesterday, so that's why we didn't see a ton of deep shots. They were just kind of like daring Texas to run the football and pick and choose underneath, and Quinn was able to do that. The ball was out and on time and going into the right place. That, like Sark said, all afternoon. It was just they had whatever they wanted whenever they wanted, and Quinn was largely responsible for that. He's going to be special. And I know that's not a hot take. Like, that's obviously everybody's been running with that narrative for a long time now. But to see that actually in person, I know now, okay, like this dude's different. You know what I mean? Not only is he the right guy for the system, Sark hand selected him, right? So he completely unlocks everything Sark wants to do. You remember that play? It ended up being like a screen to Roschon Johnson, but they went
crazy play call by
know exactly
Sark.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, where he rolls to the left and then like turns,
Flips.
and it looks like he just flicks it before it didn't even look like he looked at, like he just knew where Roschon was and just flicked it.
That
back
looks
to the other side of the field for 35
most people aren't
yards.
capable of doing that. That's a very difficult play to do.
You can't, and much respect to Hudson Card, you can't call that with Hudson Card in the game. You just can't. Like you just said, he unlocks everything. You can't call that with Hudson Card in the game or any other quarterback on the roster. He's special. I mean, he's special. You just talked about it. Special quarterback, and it's been a while since
we've trying to find the right words to describe him.
That's an NFL quarterback in a Texas Longhorn jersey. That's all I got to say about Quinn Ewers. I want to talk about Sark because much has been made about his play calling, especially in the Texas Tech game, and then sometimes in second halves. But I thought he did something that was really kind of unique to Saturday, and something that I really liked. So he came out. We know that this Oklahoma defense has been reeling, right? Against Kansas State, they gave up 1 million rushing yards. And then against TCU, they just gave up everything, gave up 55 points. Yeah. You had to see if this defense was going to be able to fix everything in 7 days, what they were going to look like coming out right from the jump. And so what does Sark do? He comes right out and shows us tempo, a lot of tempo, right? Like, let's see if this Oklahoma defense has fixed their holes. Like, let's see if they can handle us, not at our normal speed, but we're going to go up tempo and see if they can handle us. We're going to go warp speed and see if they can handle Quinn Ewers and all of these playmakers and make them think faster than usual. So what did you think about Sark going up tempo, and how do you think that affected the Oklahoma defense? Well, we know how that affected them, but what did you see?
Like we talked about a little bit off air, I think OU was actually broken before they ever walked into that stadium yesterday.
They lost this game during the week. Yeah, they lost this game during the week.
Exactly. All week long. Like I said, real quick, to me, if you are giving up on Davis Bevel after just 1 3-and-out, their opening drive, and then you're saying basically kick everything to the curb, we're only going Wildcat. You can't threaten the defense through the air because you're literally physically incapable of throwing the football, which again, it's wild to me. But to kick the curb, or kick that game plan or whatever you walked in to the Cotton Bowl with, under the expectation of Davis Bevel, just to go ahead and just completely throw that to the side and abandon all that prep or whatever you did during the week and go in Rocat style. Texas fans are familiar with that term. It just tells me that you were prepared for this to not go well, right? And you were just trying to whittle some clock, run the ball a little bit, hopefully not get beat too bad, and just get out of there and try to reconvene and figure things out. But clearly there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that they have to clean up. And it's not pretty right now. But back to the point on Steve Sarkisian and his tempo. I thought it was funny. He was flexing his muscles a little bit. Sark will kind of, he's not an open book, right? Like he's not a completely open book, as we all know, with him being very close to the vest with the depth chart stuff and who's playing quarterback, what's going on, right? Any injury, he's like, yeah, he's day to day. We'll see. We'll just reevaluate, right? He has a very, very funny and unique way that I love of being a little cocky sometimes. And if you listen and read between the tea leaves to what he's saying, he's telling you, and we're seeing it, we've already kind of talked about a couple of the plays, the nuances that are built in with this offense, tempo being one of them, that we as fans sometimes overlook or take for granted. He's saying we're doing stuff that nobody else around the country can do. And he's literally saying that. If you go listen to the post game press conference, he's like, the talent that we have, the quarterback that we have, my system, like the things that we're able to do, most people can't. If we just focus during the week, like you're talking about, growth doesn't happen on Saturdays. Growth is happening Sunday through Friday, right? And if you just kind of dial it in, do what you're supposed to do, focus on your task. Sark's system is it's fun to watch, and we saw that on full display yesterday. So just there was lots of tempo. It's RPO based. It's play action deep shot, which you're not going to see a ton of, like we talked about with 3 high safeties. But to run the football 50 times and average 6 yards a carry with 3 different players, Keelan actually averaged 8 yards per carry yesterday. It's fun, man. And we're still one of the bottom half run blocking teams in the Big 12 right now. Yet we're still towards the top in terms of run production. That just tells you how talented our running backs are. So when you have the run game combined with what Quinn can do with his arm, it's going to be fun for us this year. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely fun stuff at the 40 acres on the offensive side. I said that every time that JT Sanders is utilized correctly, he does something we haven't seen from the tight end position at the 40 acres in over a decade. In the first game against ULM, he had 85 yards, the most by a Texas tight end since 2007. In his last game against West Virginia, he had 2 receiving touchdowns, the most by a Texas tight end since 2011. He now has 5 receiving touchdowns on the season, the most by a Texas tight end in over a decade. Just talk about JT Sanders, who is a special playmaker and might be the best tight end in the country outside of the 3 or 4 tight ends they have down there at the University of Georgia.
Right. Yeah. So if you take away Georgia, he might be top 2 right now. He was graded actually, I think, going into this week as like in the top 5 per PFF. Just we're seeing all the stuff that we've heard about with his hands, his athleticism at his size. It's kind of a rare combination, and Texas fans really aren't used to seeing their tight ends utilized the way that JT is. So that just goes to show you how important the tight end position is in Steve Sarkisian's system, right? Being able to threaten the defense up the seam with a guy like him, and then you've still got Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy, all the other talented playmakers around that guy. It's just like he kind of brings everything together. It's just too much to account for right now. And then when you've got a quarterback like Quinn Ewers that can throw with anticipation and kind of just put it in a spot where only your big 260-pound, or I think he's listed as 250, 255. What's his height weight right now? I don't even know off the top. He might be closer to 260. Anyways, to put it to where only your guy can go and get it, it's fun to see. So,
yeah. So Jordan Whittington, he had 5 catches for 97 yards yesterday. And I look at him as somebody that's quarterback friendly, right? Like Quinn Ewers comes back in and he's the number 1 target for Quinn Ewers. We saw when Hudson Card came in, he was able to make plays and had instant chemistry with Jordan Whittington. Why do you think that is? Why do you think he's the type of playmaker that was special on Saturday against Oklahoma? And he's the type of playmaker that really, regardless of who's the quarterback is, he can make plays and kind of be that security blanket.
I just think he's special with not only his catch radius, for one, is the thing that stood out yesterday. Great hands catching the ball in traffic and playing through contact. But just I mentioned to a fan yesterday to my left, I just love when he gets the ball in space, he turns into a running back. And so it's just like you've got to figure out ways to get a guy like that the football. And now that he's finally healthy, I root for him. He's one of my favorite players, and just all the stuff that he's had to overcome with his injuries, and just to see him finally healthy, I'm just happy. I'm happy that he's being utilized and that he's involved. He's always on the field. He had a couple blocks yesterday too, man, where
that block, I think it was the Keelan pass where he buried the defender into the ground,
and then the one that they brought back on the long slip screen to JT Sanders early in the first half.
Yeah.
He sealed the edge too. That's what allowed JT to get up the sideline. And, it just takes me back to Brennan Marion's philosophy as the wide receiver coach, man. How you block without the football determines how much you love your teammates. And Jordan Whittington just embodies all of that. And then now we're seeing the production go on top of his effort, right? And just the playmaker that he is now that he's healthy and physically able to do so. So I just can't wait to see him. he's going to make an NFL team somewhere next year very happy. And I'm just hoping, crossing my fingers, that he continues to stay healthy and can get to the finish line this year. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he's definitely the type of player that great programs are built around. A quick word from Simply Safe, and then we're going to talk about the two players that carried us to victory literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use Simply Safe in my own home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who will always have your back. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan. Get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedoncollege to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. So Lando, yesterday, Bijan Robinson had 22 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also had the crazy catch that we mentioned from Quinn Ewers, and Bijan Robinson feels like he has the best hands on the team. I'll give that to JT Sanders, but Bijan has a case, for having the best hands on the team with that catch. And then Roschon
that throw, by the way, was impossible too. But I'm just going to leave it at that.
It's sick, but we talked about it. Quinn Ewers, that's an NFL quarterback in the burnt orange jersey. And then Roschon Johnson, 93 yards from scrimmage, getting it done in the running game and the receiving game, the emotional leader of this Texas football team. What did you see from what I like to say the best running back in the country and the best backup running back in the country against OU?
Yep. First of all, Roschon would start for, I don't know, probably 95% of the schools in the country. So to have that guy as your number 2 is really cool to see. It's kind of the thunder and lightning to me in a way where, like, Roschon is going to be always the dude that's just, he's trying to break your wheel at the end of every run. He's finishing runs. You feel him at the end. Bijan is the dude that's like, I can make you miss in a phone booth, and then just electrifying. He does things every Saturday that just don't really make sense to me, like athletically. I saw last week, right? Just for example, he caught the ball with the defender closing in on him, facing Hudson Card, and the guy, the nickel defender was closing in. He kind of dove at his legs. Bijan had the he not only did he feel that defender, he was able to catch the ball, turn around, and make him miss, all with his back to him. Just like that stuff doesn't happen very often, right? It's rare to see that type of skill set, but the contact balance and the hands that you're referencing, he's the complete back. I still think that there's going to be some NFL teams that want to see him develop more into a pass protector. Like if you can't pass protect, then you can't be on the field and on third downs at the next level on Sunday. So that is going to be the element of his game. That's where he and Roschon differ a little bit. Roschon's just more of that physical style, just with his frame and all that. But Roschon in pass pro is special. Roschon finishing runs is special, and just the toughness that he shows. But then Bijan everywhere else, man, it's just like magic. Now, I still want to see. I still think this Texas offense, and it's a young offensive line, right? There's 2 freshmen starting. It was cool to see DJ Campbell and Cam Williams on the right side, the future of the right side of the offensive line, get some run yesterday. But Texas still has a little bit to prove to me running the football, just with their run blocking. We touched on their run blocking grades. But when you're a team like Oklahoma, you're inviting the run, playing 3 high safeties, trying to keep everything in front of you and make Texas methodically march down the field. You're going to get that with guys, talent like Bijan and Roschon. They're going to average 6 yards a carry if you don't have that extra defender in the box. It's just what's going to happen. And Bijan's stat line actually would have looked a lot different yesterday. He hit a couple I think on 2 different occasions, he hit the hole and just like got tripped up, like shoestring tackle. And I think one of the time he actually clipped, I think it was Cole Hudson, maybe it was either Cole Hudson or Christian Jones's right heel. Like he tried to kind of like skip through the hole a little bit and he clipped his heel, and otherwise he might have housed it. So the run game was good yesterday. Like I said, 3 high safeties, that's what we should do in that situation with those 2 guys. And then Jonathan Brooks getting some run, and Keelan kind of getting a couple carries. And I think he averaged actually 8 yards a carry towards the end of the game yesterday too. So yeah, the run game was fun. And
Yeah,
when
best running back room in the country. And it's crazy
Yeah.
because, like I said, Bijan is like 22 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And all we're talking about is, Quinn and JT Sanders. And that's no disrespect to them. It just shows like Bijan Robinson is so amazing that he has a great game. And it's like, to us, it's just an afterthought. Like Bijan Robinson having 22 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns is just what he's supposed to do. Roschon Johnson having 93 yards from scrimmage. We just expect that, right?
Yeah.
And that's crazy. That shows the greatness of those two players. We've talked all about the offense for 20 minutes, but I want to talk about this defense who is now giving up 18 points a game. I mean, how many of us could have expected that coming into the season, that 6 weeks into the season, this Texas defense would be giving up 18 points a game and coming off a shutout in the Red River Showdown with Oklahoma. They gave up 39 passing yards on Saturday. Now, some of that had to do with, Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables conceding in the middle of the week that they couldn't beat Texas. But this Texas defense gave 39 passing yards. They had 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. I mean, talk about this Texas defense, Landon. I mean, it's been a complete 180 from last year, literally.
Well, if you do, it's been unexpected, I would say. Just the quick turnaround. Defense, like OU's finding out right now, when you have a new defensive coordinator and a new system, football in 2022 is built around like offensive success. Like DBs are always at a disadvantage, and it's just built for numbers. Like the NFL, I keep referencing the NFL, but like all the major networks, they know that like people want to see points, really. So like it's kind of catered to that in a way. So defense it's more of a reactionary spot than the offense is. So like not only are you having to understand your assignment, but you're also having to respond to what the offense is doing. And so it's just more difficult if you're not on the same page and familiar and completely new system. And so that's kind of what we're seeing OU go through. But for our defense, man, the way that they've turned the corner from a year ago has been, like you said, unexpected. But it just goes to show you how important continuity is when you've got Pete Kwiatkowski, year number 2 in a system. Players are more familiar with what they're being asked to do. And now you've also got the influence of Gary Patterson on top of that. I think that's what we're seeing. This is the result that you get with the talent that we have. We're very, very experienced up front, and those guys deserve all their flowers and all the credit. Devondre Sweat, Keandre Coburn, Moro Ojomo. I saw even Byron Murphy got a sack. He was in the stat column yesterday.
Justice Finkley, true freshman, got a sack.
Yeah. If you break it down, 3 sacks on how many passing attempts did we say you had yesterday?
17.
So that's a very good percentage. Like if Davis Bevel was really back there throwing it, 35, 40 times, the way that any other team in the country would, being down the amount that they were for the duration that they were, Texas, I mean, they were completely dominating the line of scrimmage yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that's the result that you get.
And let's talk about it because, PK, he has a history of his defense is taking a big jump in year 2. But not only we're talking about a big jump in statistics, like you're just talking about players you're looking at that we've seen, have flashes at points, but now they're dominating. Like we talk about Keandre Coburn, who had something to prove coming into the season. I've seen him mocked in the first round by PFF in their mock draft. ESPN currently has Keandre Coburn as the 5th best D tackle, draft eligible.
You saw him in the first round, really?
Yes. Right now, PFF has Keandre Coburn going at the end of the first round.
That just made my day. I didn't even realize.
ESPN has Keandre Coburn as the 5th best D tackle that's draft eligible in this draft. They've made a huge jump. You talked about Devondre Sweat and what he's done on the interior defensive line at the linebacker position. I mean, since the first game, Jalen Ford has been dominant. DeMarvion Overshown has been dominant. On the back end, Anthony Cook has been great with the transition to safety. Ryan Watts has been great in the run game, played better in the passing game. We really didn't have any passing game to play better against.
By the way, real quick, people are going to stop challenging Ryan Watts. He's so sticky in coverage and he's so physical at the line of scrimmage. They're going to stop challenging him.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Jameson, who had a lot to prove coming into the season, got his second pick on Saturday, and he's been sticky as well. So, like I said, not only are you seeing a jump in, the points given up, and Pete Kwiatkowski said he only wanted to give up 20 points per game. We looked at him like he was crazy, and he's literally doing it. Like right now, he's literally doing it halfway through the season. But you literally just see the development in the players. Like all of these players look so much better than they did last year at their respective positions. And it's great to see this Texas team having balance, not just in the passing game and the run game on offense, but on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, period. Dominant performance, 49-0 by the Texas Longhorns. When we come back from this next ad break, we're going to talk about the performance or lack thereof we saw from the Oklahoma Sooners. Quick word from BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. You still have time to go out there and bet for your Texas Longhorns to win the Big 12 this season. Head to BetOnline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. And for all your real estate needs in the Austin area, you need to visit www.longhornrealestateteam.com because Dwell in Austin and Hill Country Mortgages have combined to make your Longhorn real estate team. In a changing, more complex market, you need to work with the top professionals in Austin. Our data and information-driven approach gives our clients a significant advantage. Decades of experience in all market conditions make us able to achieve the best results for our clients, and our clients for years have outperformed the market, leveraging our proprietary research, information, and expertise, which is now more important than ever for all your real estate needs in the Austin area. Make sure you visit www.longhornrealestateteam.com. Hill Country Mortgages, LLC, NMLS 2324262. Jonathan Sarver, NMLS 993872. Equal housing opportunity. All right, Landon. So, we talked about this a little bit off the record before we got on. And, we talk about Red River and how it's one of the biggest rivalries in sports, in college football, one of the best Saturdays of the year, like you just said. And it's the type of rivalry that you necessarily can't put a finger on, no matter where the teams are ranked in the AP poll, no matter where teams are ranked statistically. It's just the type of rivalry that transcends all of that. There's a hate and a bad blood there that just makes you get up for this game every year, regardless of the circumstances. I mean, OU could be 5-0, Texas could be 0-5. You could flip that. Texas could be 5-0, OU could be 0-5. And the 0-5 team could come into this game and
doesn't
dominate.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? And yet on Saturday, I feel like we saw something completely to the contrary of that. I feel like Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables decided during the week they could not win this game. And I don't think that they came into this game giving 100% effort into trying to win this game. Now, I think Texas would have whooped their ass regardless, if it was in the game, whether they tried to win the game or not. But, I mean, how surprising was it that they came in with the game plan they came in with and basically conceded defeat before the game even tipped off? I mean, when you look at this, they had 17 passing attempts total. 3 of them were by running backs. 1 of them was by a punter. Davis Bevel had more passing attempts in a game he got thrown into against TCU than he did in a game they had a week to prepare for against Texas. Marvin Mims is an NFL player. He's their best offensive playmaker. He had 1 catch for -2 yards. And OU fans are telling me that they upgraded over Lincoln Riley. Like, you think Lincoln Riley's gonna have his best playmaker out there for 1 catch for -2 yards? You throw 17 passes in a game you lost by 49. I mean, you can't tell me you're realistically trying to win that game. What's going on with Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables? What did you see? Because, I mean, to me, it's almost disrespectful. Like, it's disrespectful to Texas fans. It's disrespectful
to the rivalry and everything.
It's disrespectful to the rivalry. It's disrespectful to OU fans. I'm glad they left. I mean, look at what they had to witness. I mean, the team did not care about winning. Brent Venables and Jeff Lebby did not try to win that game on Saturday.
There's a lot to really break down and ask questions about, right? Like, I heard Steven from Fanatic Perspective yesterday. He asked a great question. Why are General Booty and Nick Evers, why are they on scholarship? If you can't literally physically attempt a pass when you're down 3, 4, 5 touchdowns, 49-0, you can't. Texas had almost as many first downs in that game as OU did passing yards.
More points. Texas had more points than OU had passing yards.
That's true. Also true. Yes. Like,
we're talking about,
you are a blue blood, nationally prominent program that's dominated the Big 12 for the better half of the last decade, right? And you can't field a competent quarterback that can at least try to throw the football. Like, I just don't understand. Is it a meritocracy? Like, how did that guy win your starting job? Are your other 2 guys behind him just really that incapable? What's going on? No, I understand. Like, it's not an indictment on really Brent Venables or Jeff Lebby to me at this point. I know as a fan what this Texas team has taught me, that when you have a new offensive coordinator every year, a new quarterback every year, a new coach every year, and then OU has all that happening at once, on top of a five-star quarterback leaving, all kinds of talent following him and going elsewhere, you have issues. It's going to take time to figure all that stuff out and get on the same page. Like, Texas fans know this. We tried to explain that to OU going into the season. They wouldn't listen, right? Because they're not conditioned to have to bring in an outside asset, even though Brent Venables' roots are in Oklahoma. They've never really had, like, Lincoln Riley inherited an already a sound culture and a sound roster from a talent standpoint that Bob Stoops built, right? So there was no rebuilding that had to go on. It was already there. The culture was there. The coaching staff largely was the same. And then you've got this play caller that's been around calling your offense. Now he's just a head coach, right? With just a little bit more responsibility. It's a seamless transition. But when you completely try to change the culture, you bring in a new coach who brings in his own coaching staff, and then you have all these different moving parts. Life gets tough real fast. But as far as what we saw is with their effort, I can't really explain it because I don't really know. I can't speak to the talent or the ability of the other two guys behind Davis Bevel. I just know that I feel sorry for the kid. He was almost hung out to dry in a way. And it just sounds weird. It's like, I don't feel sympathy for OU whatsoever, but just for the kid knowing, hey, my coaching staff doesn't think that I can do it. And clearly they were prepared to pull him if they did so after just one drive and just completely abandoned their game plan. And they're just playing basically Mickey Mouse football, trying to do a bunch of other stuff because they can't throw it. It's just crazy to me. So I don't have an explanation.
13 passing attempts by quarterbacks in a game where you lost 49-0. That makes absolutely no sense to me. OU fans, all that talk about we upgraded with Brent Venables and Jeff Lebby over Lincoln Riley, that was just asinine from the jump. I mean, somebody that was bringing in 5-star quarterbacks and 5-star players to Norman, Oklahoma every year, had you in the college football playoff every year, and you see the results of that. And, I could comfortably say Lincoln Riley would have never went out like that in the Red River Showdown on Saturday, how Brent Venables and Jeff Lebby did. And I was a Brent Venables fan, even as a Texas fan and somebody who covers the team. I was a fan of what Brent Venables was able to do at Clemson. And, I try not to, let that blind me. And I was still a fan of him at Oklahoma, and now I'm really questioning that hire because I just can't believe that you could have your team out there like that in the biggest game of the year with that type of effort and that type of product on the field. The largest margin of victory for Texas ever in the Red River Showdown, the largest shutout loss ever in the history of the Oklahoma football program. Texas did something to OU on Saturday that has never been done to that program. And it's really got me questioning if Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables are the answer. But nonetheless, Texas went out there, took care of business, brought the golden hat back to Austin, and whooped up on OU 49-0. And I'm so glad that my brother Landon decided to hop on the show on Locked On Longhorns and talk about it with me.
Talk about
Landon,
it, baby.
Yes, sir. Let them know where they can find you and all of the great content that you put out before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me once again. And thanks everybody who is tuned in, listening right now. You can find me. It's posted on the screen at The Lando Show, just about everywhere. I'm very active on TikTok, YouTube Shorts now is what I'm kind of getting into. Twitter, especially as well. That's probably where I'm most interactive. And then even on Instagram, I'm doing a lot of more short form content right now, but kind of expanding into getting back into the podcast, longer form game as well. You'll also see me weekly. I got another announcement kind of coming up soon on another podcast as well that I'm excited to continue to collaborate with you on, JD. And you're doing a fantastic job on here as well. I love your stuff, man, and talking with you behind the scenes all the time. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait. Like I said, I'm a retired baseball player now, so that's a thing of the past. This is what I want to do full time. It's what I love, and it's what I believe God created me to do. So I'm here trying to do that, and follow me on all the socials, and I love meeting people, interacting with people. That's what makes fandom and football so much fun for me. So hit me up, and I will be glad to definitely reciprocate. So.
Yeah, one of my favorite people to talk to about sports. We're both Cowboys fans. We're both Longhorns
Oh
fans. So
man, big day for us today. Let's go.
We have a bunch to talk about and intersect about. For my audio listeners, that's the THE Lando, LANDO, and then show. If you want to follow him on any of the platforms he mentioned. We're both big baseball fans too, as he just talked about. So I got to ask you really quick off the menu, who you got winning the World Series? I think the Braves repeat this year. Who you got?
Yeah, man. So okay, this is crazy. I'll be rooting for the Braves for you. But I will say, I've been completely out of the baseball. It's one of those. It's like a love-hate thing right now. You know, a small part.
It's
of me
like that when you play it. It's like that when you play it.
That, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm a little bitter about the way things played out. You know, I always envisioned myself playing on that stage, and I came ever so close to achieving that. Didn't work out. So in a weird way, I am bitter towards baseball at this present moment. So I've kind of been tuned out of those. But yeah, man, I ended up catching the last end of the Mets and Padres game last night. So playoff baseball is pretty special. And I imagine I'll end up conceding a little bit and turning it on and watching as things continue to heat up. But yeah, I honestly don't have any insight to offer as far as the baseball world is concerned right now.
Now the grind was special yesterday. I definitely get that. My Rangers haven't done much, since I was in high school to write home about. But yeah, I just feel like right now, I know this is Locked On Longhorns. I'm sorry, yo. I feel like the Braves,
we're sports fans, baby. That's what we do.
The Braves, they're gonna repeat. I just think they got too much, skill talent at the positions. At the positions in the field positions, and then pitching. I think they got one of the best rotations, and then they got that championship DNA from winning it last year. Even though there's probably a couple teams with better rosters out there. But anyway, Texas 49, Oklahoma 0. Took this edition of the Red River Shootout. Now Texas, please don't let up and take care of business against Iowa State on Saturday. Longhorn Nation, hook 'em and peace.